Unless there was a tyre pickup problem and they've elected to bring the car in early, put new tyres on and refuel it while they're there, so it might now be a car just to keep an eye to that, running out of sequence after an early stop. But now, if that's when people are going to come in, let's see what the others can do. We've only had really half an hour of the race, 17 laps. Teams looking to try and do 34, 35 within an hour, which is looking as though it is going to be a viable number at the moment. You can see the Lotuses in GT4 there being negotiated by the number 4 Aston Martin, still pushing on Henri Moser, who is currently in 10th place. Now the Ford GT, incidentally, just making its way back into the race now. And car 33 has rejoined as well, down in 17th spot. Has stayed on the lead lap, but just. Gap between the leaders, 5.4 seconds at the end of one lap with the Ferrari in the lead, much of which, of course, was accrued by the Audi being stuck behind the Ginetta, but that's a monster gap. And Stefano Ortelli, a very slow lap in the 145s, stuck behind the Ginetta, but still a bit curious as to why he couldn't get past sooner. It did seem as though he was struggling for pace just to duck up the inside and nip by. Car 22 confirmed as a retirement. It's been pushed away behind the barrier, the damaged Ferrari that we saw. And what's going on here for 4th place? Well, they've caught up to Gianluca Roda, who is in traffic once again. But now the number 9 Porsche, there it is, has got the 2 Ferraris right back on its tail, just like Roda had in the early laps of the race. But now, number 40, the Ford there, is getting in the way a little bit. Marcus Paltela trying to claim his line, but the Ferraris wanted it as well. They go past him now. Now this battle going on for 4th and 5th places. Still Julien Jousse looking for a way by to move himself up into 4th place, but it's not happening for him at the moment. And to be fair to Ludovic Badet, he's done a very good job here of defending. What he can't do anymore is really attack that Porsche, even though they've caught back up. I think that was more to do with traffic, more than their own pace, coming downhill now towards turn 14. And this is going to be the end of lap number 19 for the race leaders. Over the timing line then, 19 laps in the book, and the gap continues to go out between the top 2. There you can see car number 10 in 5th spot, Julien Jousse. Now what does he do to get past his teammate? Because for as long as he's stuck there, he's losing time relative to the leaders. Runs a little bit more raggedly through turn 2 that time, just bounces towards the curb, heading now through the downhill fast left-hander of turn 4. Two of them still nose to tail, and Julien Jousse now with a bit more urgency about his driving, trying to force Badet into an error. It nearly came there, but he had the outside line climbing uphill, which wasn't the ideal place. Now what can he do heading into turn 8? Again, Ludovic Badet looking a bit more ragged, goes wide, but Julien Jousse hasn't quite got the grunt coming out of the corner, so he can't find a way through. Looks to the inside line, heading down towards turn 9, back markers up the road as well, and it is still just the Ferrari number 20 that hangs on to the place, but Ludovic Badet feeling the pressure now. And Julien Jousse, having been seemingly content early on to just sit there, now looking very committed indeed as the cars accelerate their way down towards turn number 12. Dart past the GT4 Aston, riding the curb is Julien Jousse, and you can see now he is totally determined not to lose a 10th of a second to his teammate. He's staying right on his tail as they go out of turn 13, having caught up a couple of laps back to Roda. They are together again for 4th place, and the 3rd place car pulling clear. Down to turn 15 then, the two of them tied together for 4th spot. Kettler leading Ortelli still as they come across the line. Pulling to the inside line there, right up against the pit wall is Julien Jousse. I just wonder how much of the irritation in that car now is being shared with the team. You get the feeling that Jousse wants to be ahead of Badet and he's a bit frustrated that he can't go faster because he's still stuck there behind the theoretically slower car. Number 10 has a better overall chance because you've got 3 pro drivers in it, whereas Ludovic Badet has 2 amateur drivers with him as his teammates, and therefore over the course of 3 hours that car will drop down the order. For now though, it's up to Julien Jousse to force the issue and get past. They have to dodge past traffic there, which they both do successfully on the inside heading through turn 6. But Julien Jousse certainly the way that he's now aiming the car at any opportunity to try and distract Bardet, who makes a mistake and gets sideways. Is this his chance? Yes, it is. Finally, he levels with him. The two Ferraris absolutely level as they come down towards turn 9, and at long last, through on the inside line goes Julien Juste. That gives him finally 4th place. He's had to work very, very hard for that, and to be fair to Ludovic Bardet, it was a good defence. Only a tiny error really has tripped him up there, and the cars now work their way out of turn 12, but in a new order. So Julien Juste goes up into 4th spot. Race lead is currently on lap number 21, and as they turn now into turn number 13, order is Ferrari, Audi, Porsche, Ferrari, because behind these two teammates you've got the second Vita 4-1 car in the hands of Nick Homerson. Up over the timing line come the race leaders now then, and the gap widens just a touch. That time between them is another 7/10 quicker is Kettler than Ortelli. Now Juste, is he going to be able to pull away from Ludovic Bardet? He does the better lap, of course, now that he's been released, but Bardet lost time anyway with his little indiscretion. And there, look, pretending to be 6th, which is where it was earlier on, is the Ford GT, but in a real 6th place now is Nick Homerson. Now let's head down to the pit lane, because Andrea Piccini is there, and he of course was an early stopper. Well, let's find out why. He's with Haley.
Andrea, you seem to step out of the Audi in a quite disappointing manner. Can you explain what's happened before you came in for your pit stop?
I mean, I saw the accident in the last corner. A Ferrari 430 crashed into the barriers and went back on the circuit. So I spoke to the team on the radio and I said, might be a safety car issue. We know if there was a safety car after 25 minutes, we were supposed to come in. And then I came to corner 7 and 8, where you have the marshal post right in front of you, and there was safety car board, yellow flags and yellow flashing lights. So I called the team and I said safety car in the circuit, and they called me in. There's no safety car. So that's, I don't know, it's a shame, because it's not good for us, but it's not good for the championship as well when it works this way. And I know Stefan as well lost the position because he backed off and some cars overtook him. So it's still possible to do a good race, because I don't think we will need a splash and dash to the end, but for sure it will be more difficult with the tires. And on top of that, after the Ferrari stopping me in the beginning, we were catching very much, so it would have been nice to continue doing a nice race. But cross the fingers, we can still do a good race.
Thank you.
Andrea Piccini right about that flashing yellow light, and the yellow flag showed quite a few corners early, so tricking him into thinking there was a safety car, but there was never a safety car message on the timing screen, which the teams also get, of course, and nor were there any SC boards around the circuit, but the yellow flag's been shown a few corners early, and that's what rather fooled one or two of the drivers. Well, there is 33. That's the car that Andrea Piccini started. It's now being driven by Marcel Fassler. Frank Kettler leading the way, whereas for 6th place here, Nick Homerson is under massive pressure from the BMW Z4. The young Dutch driver, Jeroen de Boer, right up behind him as they go towards turns 2 and 3. And Nick Homerson is doing a good defensive job, but Jeroen de Boer trying one side and then the other, looking for a way past Nick Homerson, who is another of the quick gentleman racers in this championship. Only began in the year 2000 in the very quirky Donkervoort Cup. Racing the Ferrari Challenge. He's driven in GT3 spec Lamborghinis. He drove in the Le Mans Series last year in a GT2 Porsche. He goes one side of the back marker. The BMW tried to go the other. Almost lost time, but Jeroen de Boer is able to come out of the corner almost level with the Ferrari. The two of them nose to tail. This is turn 8. Dab of the brakes there for Nick Homerson as he turns his way through. This is the fight for 6th and 7th overall, and it's also a genuine battle for position in class. And that's a Lotus with a problem heading into the pit lane. Very smoky left rear corner, and I think that might be number 61, which means it is Freddie Bath's car comes in. So the pole-sitting GT4 Lotus is into the pit lane, and it's not a scheduled stop. So down the pit road it comes. Now that is the race leader, Frank Kettler, who has come in, and that's pretty early, I would have thought, for that car, because it has done 23 laps before pitting. And Michael Bartel was saying to me they can do an hour without any problem on fuel, but they are certainly early on that. Refueling is done. Only 4 mechanics at one time can work on the car, so you've got to get the fuel done. They're 2-part pit stops, effectively. Driver change and fuel is part 1, tyres is part 2. So Stefan Ortelli then back into the lead of the race, and behind him is 33, Marcel Fassler, who has now therefore gone a lap down. number 1 Ferrari. There'll be quite a few fingers crossed in that camp because it was a starter motor that prevented the car from doing much in the Monza race after the first stints, but it drops down and it fires up and it leaves the pit lane now. So all is good, and the number 1 Ferrari will stay on the lead lap. Back into the race it goes. So the race order now: Stefano Ortelli leads from, in second place, number 9 Gianluca Roda, in third is Julien Juste, Ludovic Badet fourth, Nick Homerson fifth, sixth Rd2 in the BMW that we were watching that great battle between a little while ago, and number 1 14th when it went over the timing line at pit out. And that, I'm afraid, is Jack Gerber's Ferrari out of the race, and that is also down at the last corner. That's where we lost 22, and that, I would suggest, is an even bigger accident. Jack Gerber, the South African, Matt Griffin is not going to be able to show what he's capable of, because there's not much at the front of the 458 left. I'm afraid the South African driver has had a big moment coming into the last corner. He's rattled off the barriers, done a lot of damage to the front. This time I think you might expect a safety car, because there's not only a car in a nasty place, but there's a lot more debris on the road, and the race director doesn't want people driving over that and having punctured tyres. So Stefano Ortelli leads the way. The gap that he has got over Gianluca Roda is a pretty substantial one now. But I'm afraid to say that the number 50 AF Corsa Ferrari is going nowhere. Surely that's got to be a safety car, because there's barely a racing line anymore. Drivers having to pick their way past the wreckage, and indeed the safety car is being deployed. The SC legend has come up on the screen. There it is as well for you at home, and the boards will go out around the circuit. As yet, there isn't one on the start line, but there the marshals around the circuit do have the SC boards and the yellow flags. And so it's number 50 Jack Gerber, the South African, who has gone off the road. And the safety car will pick up the leader. Well, this in a way is bad news for 33, because it is stuck a lap down on the leading car. So ideally that wants to be ahead of its teammate, be released, and therefore try and catch back up to the crocodile if possible. A number of teams may take the opportunity to come in, just throw some fuel into the car, because they'll lose less time relative to what they would lose under full race conditions. Right, there's the safety car making its way out onto the circuit, and it will pick up hopefully the race leader at the end of lap 25, but the leader is in. So not surprisingly perhaps, Stefano Ortelli comes in after 24 laps for him, crosses the timing line on pit out, so he's on his 24th. So he's done 24, this is his 25th lap. He will have done 25 when he leaves the pit lane and goes over the timing beam. Out of the car gets Stefano Ortelli then. And that will put Gianluca Roda into the lead of the race now in the number 9 Ferrari. And all of this, when the race leader pits and he just deployed the safety car, is a nightmare for the race director. Many of them coming in now as well. In comes car number 2. Also, right on the tail is 43, Rd2 in with the BMW Z4 Coupe. You've also got number 40 having made a stop, Marcus Paltela having already been in once, but that car coming back into the pit lane. So the leading Audi, fuel and tyres, and Vita 4-1 not ready, and I think also number 2 has stopped short of its pit box, so the mechanics have to sprint down and give the car a shove. In also in the background has come the white Lamborghini. Eugenio Amos will run through what the order is once the safety car has picked up the field and we've had the round of pit stops completed, and also catch up on the driver changes that have been taking place. 38 in the background also having a driver change. Giacomo Petrovelli having started. Matteo Bobbi did the middle stint at Monza. So the safety car on track, and it's all activity. Look down in the pit lane now. Number 1 was taken over by Nico Verdonk, so that car back into the race, and of course doesn't really lose too much time now, because all the gaps come down once again under the safety car like this. There's oil on the road at turn 15 as well, which is where the 458 of Jack Gerber went off, so that's something else for the marshals to have to deal with, not only sweeping the debris off the road but also treat the liquid that's been spilled. So although at Monza we had a few cars, and I think the number 50 Ferrari, to be fair to it, was one of them in the gravel, we never really had much in the way of damage, not like we've had here, and it's early in the race of course as well, with barely 45 minutes done. BMW back into the race there, Rd2, and it's a long stop look for the Ferrari in the background. It's still in the pit lane, so we had a change of place on the pit stops here because the number 2 car of Vita 4-1, the Nick Hommerson, Louis Machiels and Paul van Splunteren car, has lost time and isn't going anywhere, and that just makes you wonder whether it's a starter motor issue. And a red flag is being shown at the end of the pit lane, and the lights are on red on the start line there, and the safety car coming up towards the line. It continues to circulate, but the red flag at the end of the pit lane is to prevent anybody from joining ahead of the queue, so those drivers will be released, but at the back of the pack. And of course the safety car tried to pick up the leader then pitted, so the order is very jumbled indeed behind. In fact, the cars that are behind the safety car now are 10 and 20. That means Julien Jousse ahead of Ludovic Badet, and Gianluca Roda has pitted. That's the reason that they're now behind, because Gianluca Roda, you can just in the background see down in the pit lane. So the number 9 Porsche come in this time. So that's done 25 laps. There it is, and just ahead, swinging in, is the number 7 Lamborghini, Mika Vähämäki. Right, mass exodus of the pit lane now, look. So Ortelli led behind the safety car briefly, but pitted. Then Gianluca Roda did. That was brought in by the team. So now it's a 1-2 for the Sofrev Autosport Promotion team. And in third place is number 45, which is Andrea Barlesi in the Gulf Racing Lamborghini. So 14 more minutes we're at the end of the first hour. There's Jack Gerber, perhaps a little sore and shaken, but he's okay. But I'm afraid to say his AF Corsa Ferrari is definitely not okay. The team run by Amato Ferrari, one-time British touring car racer. There down the pit lane, rejoining is the number 9 Porsche. And I would imagine they're going to put Raffaele Giammaria into it for the middle stint. We'll check in a second as the car goes back out onto the road. It is indeed the very rapid Italian single-seater driver at the wheel. All queued up then behind the safety car, and the indication of course is when the lights go off on top of the safety car, that will be the signal that it will come into the pit lane. Ricardo Bravo has taken over in the number 6 Lamborghini. There you can see the great variety that you have in the Blancpain Endurance Series. Cars working their way through turns 12 and 13 at the moment. And we have the Ferrari 458s then, 1 and 2 of the Sofrev team. Jousse ahead of Badet, third, the Lamborghini of Andrea Barlesi in fourth now. Number 32 with Bert Longin at the wheel of it, and 5th and 6th, Eric Querol and then Nico Verdonk. Marcel Fassler is 7th for Audi, 8th is Raffaele Giammaria Porsche, 9th is Rd2, still at the wheel of the BMW Z4, and then to round out the top 10 is number 4 Henri Moses Aston Martin. Lamborghini run 11th and 12th. Tielemans number 7 and Amos number 25 before their pit stops, and then in 13th spot is the Scuderia Vittoria Ferrari ahead of Ricardo Bravo's Lamborghini, and 15th was number 2 Nick Hommerson, but he's just come back into the pit lane, so he's done one lap, or that car has done one lap. It's not Nick Hommerson at the wheel anymore, is it? It's Louis Machiels who's come back in, so there's a problem clearly for number 2. 31 Georges Caban is in as well, and that means that elevated is going to be number 63 the Nissan. Lower down the order, Ginetta and Lotus 22nd and 23rd, but then after them you've got, I'm afraid, a number of cars that are either the walking wounded or no longer in the race after their earlier problems with barriers and gravel, all ensnaring different cars. There's 31 Georges Caban into the pit lane, number 31, and there is a benefit, I suppose, if it's a long safety car period, to keep coming in and splashing some more fuel in. As long as you can stay on the lead lap, then you're always going to have a reasonable amount of fuel in that car. Georges Caban gets out this time, and getting into that car therefore is his new for this weekend co-driver of Fabian Michal. As for the number 2 Ferrari, just ahead of it in the pit lane, the car, I think he's ready to go once again, but it's been another lengthy stop this, and there the marshals hard at work. They've got the car out of the way, which is the good news, but all of that liquid and oil that was spilt also needs to be treated before the circuit's clear for racing once again. Number 2 then, back down the pit lane, Louis Machiels at the wheel. So a second pit stop, the car at least still in the race. and it has gone a lap down. That's the downside to the fact that it's made that second pit stop now. Team's getting ready for the next round of pit stops. It's going to have to be the Autosport Promotion team, I think, isn't it, that's ready next, because their leading cars don't want to be out for much longer if we go green, because they're going to have to make a pit stop under racing conditions. Get it out of the way now while the safety car is on track. It's going to be another lap at least, I would have thought. And are they going to bring them in together? No, Julien Juste will come in first. Ludovic Badet will have to do another lap, so he hopes there are another couple of safety car laps at the very least here. Down the pit road then comes car 10. So Julien Juste, having worked his way ahead of his teammate, briefly led the race, and he makes his way down the pit road now. The Ginetta in the background has also come in for its first stop, Piero Limonta, and the number 10 team goes to work. Jerome Policon's squad working through the tyres in a moment. First of all, you can do the driver change and the fuel. So this car, when it rejoins, is going to be at the back of the queue, more traffic to work through, but at least when the race restarts, they're not going to have to worry too much about gaps in that traffic. Yes, they will have lost track position, but at least the field is still going to be tightly grouped, whereas they'll lose less time relative to doing this pit stop under a green flag condition. So ideally it would have been done at the start of the pit window, but they've elected to do it later. The one that might lose out more is the sister car that has not yet pitted. There you can see in the pit lane the Nissan, Alex Buncombe has been in, and also there the number 8 Aston Martin, Ludovic Sunier. That was the car that was pulled out of the gravel. But I'm a bit more concerned about number 20 from Sofret, because that car leading the way now, but has yet to make a stop, and we're almost getting towards the end of this safety car period, aren't we? The worst thing that can happen for that is it pits as we go green. New tyres being put on to the number 10 Ferrari. But they need to get that back out onto the circuit. They're long stops, and at the moment a safety car lap is 2 3/4 minutes, give or take. So important that this car is able to get out and catch back up to the Crocodile. So Ludovic Badet leading the way now in the number 20 Ferrari. Behind, also having not made a pit stop under the safety car, is 45 Andrea Barlesi. And this really gives the advantage back to Bert Langevin Audi, number 32, because that car is the best of those that have made a pit stop. It's going to be in third place, and the other two are going to have to serve a stop pretty soon, because we're getting towards the end of the hour, and that really is when they want to try and come in for the first tank full of fuel, if they are able to at least run to 60 minutes on the tank of fuel. The safety car is in at the end of this lap, so there, the leading car, I'm afraid, has been dealt a pretty bad hand by the team. They called in the sister car, the quicker car, a bit later than they should have, I reckon, and Ludovic Badet now is going to go back into a green flag situation, knowing that he's got to make another stop, and any gap that had been built up over the opposition has disappeared. So at least now he's got a clear road ahead of him. He's going to have to go like stink here and try and build up some sort of an advantage if he can, but it is not going to be easy. When he comes over the line, the Nissan, which is still in the pit lane, will go a lap down. So the safety car is in. You can see Bert Langevin there in the Audi getting a bit keen on the inside, trying to get past one of the slower Porsches. Right, we go racing once again then. First safety car period complete, and Ludovic Badet, number 20, leads the way. There second is the Lamborghini 45 of Andrea Barlesi. Third is Bert Langevin, and then in fourth spot, number 42, the Sport Garage Ferrari of the experienced Eric Kirol. Fifth is number 1, Nico Verdonk. You're riding now on board number 40. Bas Linders at the wheel of the Ford GT, but it's many laps down, so it's a great vantage point to be riding with him, but I'm afraid he's not going to challenge for position anymore. There, 33, Marcel Fassler. Well, that car's back in the hunt as well, in a sense now. He's on the lead lap once again, and in 6th place overall, so it was a rather crestfallen Andrea Piccini, who was in similar mood last week at the Sachsenring, having crashed in qualifying, but then he got a win the following day. Can he get a good result out of this, despite the drama of thinking there was a safety car? The one that's also lost out by pitting a bit later is the number 9 Porsche that did lead, but is now down in 7th place, so has lost a fair chunk of track position. Bas Linders looking for a way here up on the inside of the 430 Ferrari alongside. Great noise from the Ford GT, riding down towards now turn 9. Best Linder's turning his way through that tight right-hander. So Ludovic Badet leading from Andrea Barlesi. But there you can see number 1, which is Nico Verdonk going after 32 Bert Langin. In real terms, these are the top 2 because they were the 2 disputing the lead before the pit stops. But you notice we've had that switch around now because the Audi is back ahead of the Ferrari, which was the reverse of the situation before they pitted. But number 1 pitted sooner than the Audi, so therefore gave up its lead. Early on it was Ortelli that led, and Frank Kekler that caught him. Lead traded, and now you've got the Audi back in front after the pit stops and the safety car period. Ludovic Badet staying out for as long as he can. Well, the other element to this is, of course, he is the quicker of the 3 drivers, so he's got to try and do the maximum driving available. Over the line he goes, trying to pull clear, and as he does so, he's a second and a bit, nearly a second and a half quicker than Barlesi behind him. Bert Langin third, the best of the pit stoppers now. And Nico Verdonk, the young Belgian driver, switching to GT cars this year, right on his tail then. And there's a big lock up behind, but this for third place on track. And for the honour of being the best of the pit stoppers so far is about to go the way of Vita 4-1, I reckon, because Nico Verdonk is looking for a way through as they plunge downhill. He thinks about the inside line, but Bert Langin, vastly experienced, the Belgian driver, is able to fend him off as they turn their way through 4 and 5 now. Langin wide over the curb, battle of the Belgians here. Langin keeping his fellow countryman at bay. Nico Verdonk, another of the rising Belgian stars in sports car racing, right on the back of the Audi as they drop down towards turn number 9 now. Ludovic Badet leading the pack at the moment, but Gulf Lamborghini second, and this for third. To the inside line there, tried to go, but it didn't work out for him, Nico Verdonk. And the sister car is busy defending places lower down the order as well. In a sense, ignore the top 2 because they're running out of sequence, having not made a pit stop. And this is a great battle. It's the third on track, but really it's for the honour of the race lead because they are already a pit stop in hand. You have to make a regulation 2, but it was a fairly short opening stint from number 1. It was only 23 laps, wasn't it, before Frank Kekler brought the car in for fuel and tyres. And it was before the safety car came out. Maybe it was a bit of a gamble to do it, thinking that the safety car was imminent for that crashed Ferrari. But either way, we've got the battle well and truly joined once again. Bert Langin wide, coming out of turn 15, and there, tucked up behind it, Nico Verdonk. Over the timing line they come now. Ludovic Badet, the race leader, lapping in the 140s. Bert Langin lapping in the 41s. So these two at the moment are just lapping a bit slower than the race leader, but that's mainly because they're busy battling. Heading now up towards turn 3. And Nico Verdonk racing here for the first time, looking for a way past Bert Langin, who goes wide. He's going to head for the curb. Can the Ferrari duck up alongside? Not coming out of turn 3, it can't. Downhill they go, nose to tail. Verdonk has a look to the inside at turn 4. Really, the best opportunity is going to be either to force Langin into a mistake coming through this next sequence at 6 and 7, or at the end of the next long straight down towards turn 9. And again, Bert Langin is a little bit wide though there. Number 1, Nico Verdonk looks to line him up on the inside, heading into turn 8. There's a gap on the inside briefly, but Langin moves across and covers the line. Uses all of the curb on the outside of the road, then running out of the corner down towards turn 9. Flash of the lights here from Nico Verdonk, saying, come on, Bert, you're holding me up now. Get out of the way. But Langin doesn't have to get out of the way. This is a genuine fight for place. Through turn 9, nose to tail. The Audi just ahead of the Ferrari, the new 458. Still in its infancy in terms of development, whereas the Audi is in now its second full season of racing. And there's the Nissan, which was leading early on the GT4 contest. It's made its first pit stop and now has Jordan Tresson at the wheel. Cars making their way down towards us, with Leo Mansell incidentally having taken over the number 70 at Lotus, and 61, which had that early pit stop, Freddie Bath, has given away now to Lawrence Frey. That's the third car you can see running in the GT4 battle here, because ahead is the GT3 spec Cup class Porsche. Over the line comes Langin and Verdonk once again, these two nose to tail, heading up now through turn 1. Turn right again, slightly tighter corner, and then even tighter again at turn 3. Great opening sequence to the lap this, and once more Verdonk looking to try to get the run up alongside the Audi, but to no avail. Expect this battle to run all season in a sense, and particularly at the Spa 24 Hours, where a Belgian team desperately wants to win the Blue Ribbon event, but Vita 4-1 has made no bones about the fact that it wants to win that race above all others this year. So the fight here in the early stages of round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series, it's going to carry on for definite to Belgium for round 3 of the Spa 24 Hours, with this mega entry being received. Langin runs a little bit wide again, coming out of turn 8. There's Andrea Barlesi, another of the Belgian drivers in the entry. The young Belgian in second spot. As to the inside line goes Nico Verdonk. He breaks as late as he dares. Can he get up alongside Langevin? No, he can't. Again, the Audi just hangs onto the place. Fantastic battle, this. They're still nose to tail, and Bert Langevin has not put a wheel wrong, really. He's gone wide perhaps just once, ever so slightly, but he's soaking up the pressure, sponge-like, being applied by Nico Verdonk, who rides the curbs there, coming out of turn 12. Verdonk looks to the inside, but he still can't unsettle Bert Langevin. Down through turn 14 they come, and now make the run towards the end of the lap. Not as slippery a corner as it was early on in the race. Now the oil has been soaked up, and I'm afraid this is a repeat of what we saw at Monza. Ginetta on fire, back for a moment to what's going on for third place. Langevin and Verdonk side by side now, and Nico Verdonk is going to get the place, I think, on the inside heading into turn 1. He's got the shorter line for the corner, and he's done it. He's gone through. Now that Ginetta, smoking and with flames coming out of the back as well, is possibly dropping oil on the circuit, and that means that life for the drivers is going to get tricky once again. We just caught a glimpse of the Ginetta with Diego Alessi at the wheel. Well ablaze, there it is, just like happened at Monza. Well, the car was able to get to the pit lane and the blaze was extinguished. Diego Alessi is not doing it any good here, I'm afraid. Experienced driver is Diego Alessi. He's got the message now with all that black smoke filling his mirrors. He's going to bring the car into the pit lane. Great, because there's lots of fuel in the pit road. What he needs is a marshal with an extinguisher. And somewhere all of that black smoke is a Ginetta. And he's pulled it off the road, but I think now he's probably done too much damage to that car. And are we going to go safety car again? Because it's nowhere near a marshal as far as I can see. And Diego Alessi walks away from it, but he's done the best part of a lap with that car ablaze. And by the time anybody gets to it, there'll be precious little of the back of that Ginetta around. The black smoke drifting across the circuit, and the fire truck, frustratingly, is on the other side of the road. But as I say, by the time anybody gets there, there'll be nothing left of that car. 1 or 2 heading for the pit lane, including Andrea Barlesi there out of second place. Right, another fire truck has arrived, stops ahead of cars coming into the pit lane. They've got to dodge round it, so there's a bit of chaos coming into the pit lane there. So that blaze needing to be extinguished, but much as an experienced racer Diego Alessi is, I fear that the finger can be pointed at him for not parking that car sooner. So we go safety car again. Not surprising, because you can't race past that with all the smoke and the extinguishers, and of course the marshals being in a very vulnerable position as well. Well, the blaze, I was going to say is out. No, it's not. It started up again, hasn't it? 45 pits, so they call that right. Dived in just before the safety car boards came up. Andrea Barlesi gets out of the car, and Jean-Pierre Valentini and Fabien Giraud, the 2 co-drivers. Well, there you can see Ludovic Badet leading. Behind him in the queue is Lotus number 70, Leo Mansell. And then the next car is Nico Verdonk. So Ludovic Badet, yet again, having tried to build a lead, has it reduced by a safety car. And once more, numbers 1 and 32, Nico Verdonk and Bert Langevin, looking as though they are in the prime place now for a race win. Can 45 go back out without losing a lap? And still the blaze on this Ginetta has taken hold. Of course, Diego Alessi was just into his stint, so in other words, there's a full tank of fuel in that car. It's not like it was at the end of its stint and there was very little left in the tank. It was almost a full tank of fuel again. He'd probably only done a lap or 2 at most, and so they've got to try and put out an hour's worth of fuel. An entire tank full is still burning away. The tyres being made ready and now applied to 45. Andrea Barlesi has done a pretty good job actually in that first stint. Takes over the duties in the garage, studying the data and looking at the monitors now, but his work behind the wheel is certainly done. So car 20, Ludovic Badet leads. We're on lap 35, and number 1 is in second place, Nico Verdonk. Bert Langevin is third in the Audi. Fire, no, it's not out. More flames you can see. Dear oh dear, that could be the last we see of this Ginetta. Ever, because there's going to be precious little left, I fear, by the time all that blaze is out. Replay of the car ablaze, and now the hoses having to be brought from one side of the track to the other. Almost the bulk of the extinguishers at Navarra are being emptied here. So the leaders thread their way past, and Ludovic Badet this time around comes into the pit lane. So makes his way down the pit road. So gives up the race lead, and that's going to put number 1, Nico Verdonk, back into the lead of the race. Car number 10, incidentally, which was going well in the hands earlier on of Julien Jus, was taken over by Patrice Guela, and we'll see who gets in to replace Ludovic Badet this time. 38 still being shown as Giacomo Petrobelli, but we saw a driver change there. My guess is that Matteo Bobbi will do the middle stint like he did at Monza. So behind the safety car, frustrating for the drivers, all of this. The race continues, and the reason for the safety car, of course, is so the marshals can deal with that serious drama without the race having to be stopped. Number 20 then, number 10 I should say, back into the race. Sister car in the pit lane. And refueling done for number 20. That means that the tyres can go on the car now. These two-part pit stops. Fuel and driver change part 1, tyres part 2. But it's important that car stays on the lead lap. Also in has come 37 Porsche, which was another car in the wars yesterday in the free practice session. And it was crashed yesterday by Bianconi, but Stefano Villa has taken it over. They brought the car back down the pit lane. The Sofrev team now having dealt with both of their cars, but I think number 20 is going to be lucky if it hangs on to that leading group here. It loses half a lap or so with the pit stop being made under the safety car. Could have been a lot worse had it been at full racing conditions. There's 37 then, Stefano Villa still in the pit lane. And in the haze, with all the extinguishing smoke drifting across the circuit, the field heads down towards turn 9, weaving around to maintain the warmth in the tyres here, so they've got them at the optimum temperature for when the race restarts. There's Diego Alessi in replay, doing the best part of a lap. I think we caught a glimpse of the car ablaze coming out of turn 4, and it was nearly at the end of the lap. He stopped just at turn 14. And he made that move into the pit lane and then thought better of it, but bringing it into the pit lane with all those other churns of fuel around wasn't a great idea. But frustratingly, where he stopped was nowhere near anybody with a fire extinguisher as well. Diego Alessi out of the car and walking away, and the car now looking very sorry for itself, being towed back to the pit lane. But the race director may just want to word with Diego about that, saying in future when you smell burning or people tell you it's on fire, stop where you are, because certainly that was a big drama for the marshals to attend to, and lack of visibility was a problem as well for the drivers going through that sequence of corners. Whether any oil has been spilt on the road, I don't know, but that is a very sorry sight. The only happy people, I suspect, are in Leeds and parts department of Ginetta, who will already have their order books poised for tomorrow morning. They'll be assessing the damage there, thinking, right, what can we sell? But the Ginetta G50 out of the race for sure, and the field still behind the safety car makes its way over the timing line. So the clock ticking away at the top of the screen. There is Diego Alessi walking back to explain to the team that it was quite warm in that car. Yes, he's okay, but you can't say the same for the GT4 spec Ginetta G50, that's for sure. So Diego Alessi out of the race, very successful in the Maserati Trofeo a few years ago, and race winner with Luca Piri in the European GT3 Championship. Good to have him in the Blancpain series, but I'm afraid not for terribly long. He was only a lap or two into his stint. So number 1 Nico Verdonk leads for Ferrari, second is Bert Langin for Audi, and third is 33 Marcel Fassler. So after Andrea Piccini having his early stop duped by the thought the safety car might be apparent and briefly going a lap down, the car is back into third place. Fourth now, number 9 Porsche, is Raffaele Giammaria. Fifth is Gilles Vanelay. Sixth is Simone Knapp. Right, let's hear from Diego Alessi with Haley.
Diego, that was a tough one there for you. When did you decide to make the call to finally pull the car over?
Oh yes, I just had an oil leak from the differential. It was a shame because the car was very consistent with the race pace, and we were fighting with the front guys, and I was optimist about the end of the race, but I think we had a special problem with the wire oil, and we have to fix it. If not, each race is like this. It's not a happy ending.
Thank you, Diego.
Not a happy ending, and just to pick up on the point, every race is like this. It's exactly the same problem, the car catching fire with this oil leak, that we saw at Monza. The consequences weren't quite as serious in Italy as here, because the blaze was extinguished quite swiftly, but because the car did a lot more of a lap and it took longer to get to it, there's more damage being done to the car here than in the opening round of the championship. So 2 races, 2 retirements, 2 fires for the De Lorenzi Racing Ginetta team, and that therefore deprives Fabrizio Ferrari a chance to drive. He would have done the 3rd stint. Lawrence Tomlinson, the man that owns Ginetta, was quite chuffed to discover that a man called Ferrari was driving one of his cars. I think he'd arrived as a car owner when Ferrari drives a Ginetta. So currently we're on lap 37 here at Navarra, round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series, and I think we may be ready to go green next time around. I think the incident zone is pretty much clear. Safety car continues for 1 more lap, but what you'll often find is that when the incident is clear, there'll be one last quicker lap by the safety car to let the drivers get everything back up to temperature, and they will be in business once again. So the race director, Eduardo Freitas, vastly experienced race official, will be keeping an eye on all of this, and it does look as though the pace has picked up once again, so you should be able to go green pretty soon. The other thing that's happening here as well is that the temperature is going up a little bit, and the overcast skies are not as apparent as they were. It's a bit brighter, and there is a rather slow Nissan. What's going on here? Jordan Tresson, very slow up towards turn 1, rather than keeping pace with those ahead, and that's going to go badly for car 20, because you saw there the erstwhile leader, Font Morel, now behind the wheel of the car, stuck in the pack. So he wants to try and find a way through if he can, sooner rather than later. But the problem is that if the cars ahead of you don't keep pace and amble around at a slow crawl, then you're going to lose even more time relative to the race leaders, who are at the moment over at turn 8. The WRT team that runs the Belgian Audi club, R8s, looking at the data, looking at the pictures, and if you catch a glimpse of the second car as they weave around, that's the one of Marcel Fassler, that will be in a real hurry to try and join in with the race leaders. How many back markers are between 2nd and 3rd? 3 slower cars, I think it is. 3 back markers to work past, and behind Fassler there is the blue and white Porsche of Gianluca Roda. And 45 Lamborghini, which we saw in 2nd place of Andrea Barlesi, was taken over by Jean-Pierre Valentini, but has lost a lap in the course of its pit stop. So the safety car is in at the end of this lap, so it was the correct assumption, a quicker lap for the drivers to get everything back up to temperature. The lights are out, so that means the safety car will peel in. The lights extinguished is the sign to the drivers that the safety car will be in at the end of that lap. The drivers will know that anyway now, because the teams get the information on the screens, the timing screen. They'll relay that over the radio to the drivers, and then we'll be in business this time. So the safety car peels in. Nico Verdonk makes his way up towards the last corner, and having worked his way past Bert Langin, now he's got to defend from Bert Langin and look for the second Audi. Marcel Fassler then, who is 3 cars further back. He's got traffic to get past, but he's going to be in a hurry as well. So we go racing once more then over the line, and it is Verdonk who pulls away from Bert Langin on the run over the timing line. Marcel Fassler 3rd, with Raffaele Giammaria right up behind him in the number 9 Porsche as they dive in towards turn 1. And there a challenge also being made on the inside, the number 7 Lamborghini that was started by Olivier Tielemans, looking for a way by, trying to gain a place on the inside line there. So Tielemans goes through. And there number 2 Louis Machiels down in 15th place, a lap adrift of the race leaders. He wants to try to get back into the hunt if possible, but has not yet been able to make up the lost time with the safety cars. And wide there goes Langin. He's made a mistake at 6. That compromises the exit speed. Well, he doesn't lose a place. That was only a back marker getting past him, Baz Linders. But he's lost time, which is more crucial here to the race leader, so the gap widens, and he's lost time relative to the car behind him, his teammate Marcel Fassler, who's therefore getting a bit closer to him. And Fassler taking with him Giammaria, who has got through, has he? Yes, he has. The Porsche's gone by up into 3rd place, heading down towards turn 9. So now up into 3rd spot, Raffaele Giammaria, who's got back markers dicing ahead of him there. In 25 Lamborghini now, it's Nicolas Meyer-Melnhof. And he was busy defending a place right ahead of the car that's now up into 3rd spot overall. So Marcel Fassler, in fact, on the restart, doesn't gain anything. He loses a place. That's real frustration for him. towards the completion of the lap now comes the leading car, Nico Verdonk. Trying to build his race lead as Raffaele Giammaria is about to work wonders, I suspect, in that Porsche. The car suddenly comes alive in stints 2 and 3. Not to say that Gianluca Roda is slow, he did a good job in the first stint, but just as we saw at Monza, the car just looks quicker as soon as Giammaria gets into it. And then Paolo Roberti for the third stint, again, is a very, very good driver of these cars. Giammaria storms up on the inside, picks off the back marking 458 there, which is the number 38 car of Matteo Bobbi, and that is Jean-Pierre Valentini, who spun coming out of the last corner. The Gulf Lamborghini is facing the wrong way, and the Nissan, incidentally, that we saw slow on that restart lap has come back into the pit lane. So, having had problems in qualifying, the Nissan GT4 car is in trouble in the race as well. The Lamborghini then has had a spin at the last corner, and Raffaele Giammaria is in a real hurry then. He's up into third spot. There is Valentini rejoining with the aid of the gravel bed. He's back on track, but in so doing has lost an awful lot of time. So Jean-Pierre Valentini rejoins, makes his way now up over the timing line as the leaders work their way down towards the end of that back straight.